This podcast is brought to you by Penji. Penji is a creative subscription service that gives you access to pre-vetted, agency-trained creatives from all over the world. From graphic design to illustrations to social media management and web development, it's all included for one monthly price. It's time to say goodbye to the hassle of searching for top-notch creative talent. With Penji, you get quality and consistency delivered right to your inbox every day. Carefully crafted for you by humans, so meet your new creative team today. Head over to penji.co for more and enter the coupon code located within the podcast show notes.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Fully Managed podcast where we discuss marketing and business tips to help assist you on your business journey. I'm your host, Shannon, Penji's partnership coordinator, and I'm joined here today with a very special guest, Brian Bauer from Bauer Entertainment Marketing. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
I appreciate it. So could you just start by telling us a little bit about yourself, how you kind of got to this point, what inspired you to start Bauer Entertainment Marketing, and everything you think is relevant in between?
Yeah, all the stuff. So, the journey kind of really, I grew up the mean streets of North Chicago suburbs, and son of a piano teacher, a third generation drummer. So both my parents very musical household, and really kind of fell in love with music from an early age. And I playing and performing, from very early on. I think I did some of my first performances in grade school at the talent showcase where I played Green Day's Basket Case, just solo drums, nothing else. It sounded totally exactly as you imagine it would sound. And it was, I've loved it from pretty much day one. Knew I always wanted to kind of work in entertainment, and it's the side of just this life experience and journey that like makes it all worth living. It's fun. It's kind of like, I think, and flash forward a little bit, but certainly doesn't feel like a job when it's something you're passionate about and love it, right? And so, anyways, kind of going through my high school, college career, still continue to play, but also I went to the University of Maryland, go Terps, studied psychology there because I decided to kind of keep my music outside of school. Prior to that, I was 16. I went to a summer program at Berklee College of Music. Loved it. Incredible. Totally life-changing, but also helped me understand that, I think the music in academia wasn't necessarily for me. But I was very interested and compelled as to like the human experience and what makes us tick and all those things. And so I really gravitated towards psychology. During the summers through college, I was interning at, different, entertainment industry things like MTV and Universal and RCA, and got to really cut my teeth in that world. And it was also certainly at the time where like, Napster, streaming, all that kind of stuff, Facebook had just really kind of is now a thing. Because while I was in college, it really kind of came about, right? Which super dates me, but whatever. And it was like this really interesting confluence of like, yeah, I am the last sort of generation to understand what life was like before the internet and after the internet, and kind of uniquely positioned to like help these companies with their social media and their stuff that just didn't really understand it whatsoever. And so after college, I was working at a record label that again was sort of like on the decline because they were so used to selling physical records. And now this was like on the streaming world was really coming up, digital downloads, everything. And so there was a lot of turmoil in the industry at that time. I got the opportunity to play and tour with the band that, just incredible experience, played South by Southwest, where Elijah Wood, the actor, was there. He signed us to, his label and got to record with Frodo himself. And it was, just super, super genuinely amazing human and just a really, really cool guy, and an awesome experience. But while I was doing that, while I was touring and playing music internationally, it was, challenging to make a living. And so I would do social media marketing for these companies and all these kind of side hustles. And I was living in New York at the time in a very small apartment. I went from like East Village to West Village, and like, I think the place in the West Village, I could not even fit a bed into. It was a pull-out couch. I mean, it was like, yeah, super small, right? But like, that was
That's
great.
New York.
You know, you're in your 20s, and that's New York. But it was the hustle. I truly think I had about as many as 7 jobs at one time, of just like everything from walking dogs to taking surveys to like, just anything under the sun to like scrape by, but make it happen. And I loved it. And it was incredible. But I eventually got kind of, tired of the rat race of New York, got this opportunity to move to Nashville, and was moved to Nashville by a ticketing company. That ticketing company had me manage their marketing agency. And so when I got there, one of the 3 founders had already left from that agency. The other founder soon left to be a professor. And then the third founder was tapped to be the CEO of the parent company. So I found myself leading a marketing agency, essentially making all the mistakes that you do, but on somebody else's dime. So it was incredible experience for me, to be able to take risks, and truly grow, without having, the risk of it being my own dollar.
It's nice to do that earlier on, I'm sure too, because they have more understanding about it because it's more new. So
Yeah.
it's not like, oh yeah, you can see all this evidence everywhere. Like it was kind of just like
Yeah.
starting.
And it was, yeah, I mean, it was a perfect scenario because it married everything that I loved, right? Like I was doing the digital marketing for, more like law firms, insurance brokerages, that kind of stuff. But this gave me the opportunity to do that for entertainment properties, and also in live events, which I loved. It also opened me up to the sports world, which I had not worked on up to that date. And so I got to go to like NASCAR tracks. I worked with X Games. I worked with college bowl games. I mean, it was just so interesting to see like, oh, these are just mini music festivals. Truly, I mean, they would bring in massive artists, and play these 3-day weekends, and there's camping and all this kind of stuff. And it was just this, very congruent kind of experience, but seeing how, yeah, all these kind of events and experiences sort of share the same fans, and me being in a unique position to sort of see them from different angles, which is really, really cool. Like from film festivals to restaurants to sports teams to like all these things. It just really deepened my love for experience and bringing people together. Ultimately got the opportunity to spin off and start Bauer Entertainment Marketing, rooted in that experience, doing this for somebody else. And so this was kind of my foray into like, all right, cool. I'm going to write my own destiny here and make this happen. And slowly but surely, it's grown. We are now approaching at a staff of 50, and international as well, which I'm just really wild roller coaster experience, but incredible. Yeah.
Is it scarier to now do marketing on your own dime?
I don't know about scarier, because I think even when it wasn't, I just cared so deeply for the success of the client that I don't think that's ever changed. And their loss was, I truly felt was my loss. If whatever didn't work out, or vice versa, right? Their win is my win. So I would say, if anything, maybe it's just a little bit more fulfilling, because it's my dollar. So you got to put up or shut up.
No, I think that's incredible. And I think that, it shows that is how passionate you are about the field specifically too, is getting more and more excited about it, and then starting your own agency to be able to do it yourself, which is really, really fun.
I think what's also been incredibly fulfilling and fun and just blows me away, is seeing kind of the journey that I went through, and then providing, the experience for my team as they grow, right? And we've got just like the most incredible squad of passionate, creative, effective marketers. And we all share this belief in like, we want to bring people together for unforgettable experiences. And it's just so core to who we are as people. We've got this like shared value, but to see them kind of grow, and I want to make sure that they're getting sort of an experience that, I candidly looking back at some of the stuff that I had to do as an intern, let's say, of, hey, our freezer has frozen over. Here's a knife and chip it out. Well, the CD shelf needs organizing. That's going to be your afternoon today. That kind of stuff. Like, we don't do that. We have a really robust internship program. We very much cultivate like hiring from within and growing people. I mean, our operations director now, she was an intern, and she is one of two hires that we hired. We hired two people to start the company. And, it's something that is just, it's just awesome to be able to provide them and maybe an experience that I perhaps did not have.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. It's nice. It's like a parent to a kid. It's kind of like, I want you to have better than I did.
For sure.
It's nice because being able to give them that experience, you not only get like a very truly loyal and dedicated employee, but you also know that they learned the ins and outs of your business and that they have that experience. It's really nice. It's very difficult to start someone from scratch, even if they're very well versed in the field.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that we have definitely found some really great success in growing, our team from intern to coordinator to project manager to it's like there's a journey that we like to foster.
Well, so speaking of success, but for some of your clients, I actually have a couple questions because I saw some crazy statistics on your website, and I'd really like to talk about them because I think
of course.
Love to pick your brain on them. So, okay, specifically the RBC Bluesfest, the 709% increase in ticket sales. That's incredible. Do you have like a unique strategy which you specifically put towards that campaign by any chance? I'd just love to hear about it.
Yeah. So really, RBC Bluesfest, 300,000 people over 10 days, really cool experience to work with for a few years and help them grow. Our engagement with them ended pretty much mid-pandemic. Unfortunately, festival world has been hit pretty difficult, but, our experience supporting them, is I think, just speaks to our general ethos, our general approach, and kind of the lens through which we look at all of our service, which is performance based and really rooted in conversion rate optimization. Because we could be spending a ton of time, money, and energy on ads and social media and PR or whatever, and it's all driving people essentially to the same location. It's to the website. And if it isn't optimized or streamlined to convert or yield that traffic into the most amount of possible sales by just making it easy to buy, well, then it's kind of all for naught, right? Like we're spinning our wheels a bit. And so our approach, we really try to work kind of backwards out and take a look at, all right, what is that process to buy a ticket? And I'll tell you, I mean, we during our onboarding processes very commonly find some pretty massive hurdles that consumers have to go through. We had a client that like had their minimum order set to 12 recently, where it's like, okay, guys, like, of course you're not seeing conversions, right? It's things like that though, that happen because frankly, they're very much in the weeds. And by us being a third party and being able to provide that perspective, we get to look at it through a fresh lens, fresh perspective, right? So that's part of it. And then it's just kind of working out of that funnel and identifying, okay, great. So if we know essentially, how many, how much traffic it requires to convert into an order, and kind of work out of there, we can create this funneled experience that helps drive more awareness and consideration and decision, and then ultimately, more sales for them. So it's having that kind of, I guess, tiered or funneled approach through the lens of performance, that's very commonplace in retail, not so much in event marketing.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Do you ever do any kind of physical or in-person approaches when marketing?
Physical and what? Sorry.
Like in person?
So, like street teams and that kind of.
Yeah, I guess so. That's what I was having
Yeah,
in mind.
to some degree. I mean, I don't think our specialty necessarily is in like, let's say, experiential marketing, right? Where, there's activations or things set up to, to promote an event or a brand. I think our specialty, in kind of, I guess, the physical space would probably be more along the lines of like out of home advertising, which we do pretty regularly. From your radio, print, TV, billboard, that kind of traditional media, tends to kind of live in that world. But, yeah, I mean, we'll activate influencers pretty regularly. That's, another kind of, mechanism that, is really important, particularly for festivals. And so, sometimes we'll have, influencers do things in the physical world where they're perhaps like hiding a pair of tickets at a record store. And, there's kind of like that type of promotion. Right. So yeah, that's kind of answers the question, I guess.
Yeah, no, of course. So you actually mentioned before about COVID, and I always wonder how people are successful during the time, especially agencies, because I feel like a lot of our work was really interrupted because of that event. I'm sure everyone's work really was. So you still had cases in which you had helped clients during that time. What did you do? Did you have to do anything specifically differently in order to help them? And like, what were those things?
Yeah. Very interesting experience for us compared to most, I would say, because we actually ended up tripling in size during COVID. Wow, indeed. Right. So, yeah. And I think, we were very nimble. We were already rooted because I founded the company, even though we've got our headquarters in Nashville, we have our workspace, we have team all across the country, and now internationally. And, we were always rooted remotely. We could, there was no transition during that experience, right? Like we were good to go. We hosted our first live stream, I think maybe 2 weeks after like the major shutdown in that March. So we were very quick to be able to pivot for our clients. But I had also, I had read pretty early in the experience during the SARS epidemic that brands that kind of got out there with their, promotion and just helped and were increased their presence, ended up coming out the other end about 3x, as opposed to those that maybe hunkered down and just tried to wait it out and remain quiet. And so we ended up really trying to, I guess, be a beacon and support those in our industry, because I'll tell you, it may feel big, but it's a really small industry and everybody kind of knows everybody. And we just wanted to help regardless of whether they were a client or not. We were taking calls about, oh, you got furloughed, but I've been I'm thinking about maybe starting a company around this idea. What do you think about it? And just having those kind of conversations, to like hosting webinars and talking to, our clients about, hey, you got a bunch of sponsors that were counting on your event and a bunch of in-person impressions. Well, now here's how you can shift and retain that cash and provide value with maybe online impressions and other ways you can do it. And so there was a lot for us to still do between that, the live streams, the drive-ins. A lot of our clients, like festival clients, were just elongating the runway. So they didn't know when things would come back online. So they just kind of just kept postponing. And so we just kept on working. And again, there was just, just weird confluence of like us being present, plus a lot of like people still wanting to experience stuff and this desire, like when you cut off the ability for people to get together, that means that there's a wanting for it even more. And so, that is our job. That's what we do, is we bring people together for these shared experiences. And so, we just saw really, really significant demand for what we were doing. And that ultimately ended up, we grew a whole heck of a lot.
Yeah, I think it really says a lot that you're able to be innovative in that time, because I think that that was what it really needed, especially for things that are typically in person. To be able to create those strategies and still have it happen is something that is definitely admirable.
Thank you. Well, it's a weird space we're in because we were pretty much the first to shut down, last to reopen. Um, and it's almost as if we're experiencing our COVID era of impact now, this many years later, because the costs, and I imagine that even, people not necessarily in the industry have just heard of all these festivals canceling and all these, events not happening or tours canceling. And there's this very challenging landscape right now in events where the cost for production for events has skyrocketed. And in turn, that requires event producers to increase ticket prices.
Yeah.
So pair that with the economic situation that, we've been in for, the past several years, where, far fewer people can afford to go to these events. And so that's not a recipe for success, right? And then you've got also too much supply. Everybody has come back online, and there's more events than ever before happening now. So when you have too much supply, it's really expensive to put on these events, and not enough people can necessarily afford attending all of these events. That's what's resulting in a lot of these cancellations. And so it's just a really challenging time right now for the event space.
That's really interesting. So would you say then that personally you feel it's a more challenging time now than it was during COVID?
I think so. I do. I mean, just from the standpoint of, I don't know, in a very different way. I mean, obviously, of course, when you're an event producer and you can't actually put on an event, and it's,
That's awful.
I mean, that's absolutely insane. But now it's just incredibly different, because when a lot of decisions are based off of historical, sales data and things like that, yet now the trends are all flipped upside down on their head. It's very murky waters to navigate through when you don't have as much, it's kind of a new era in the event landscape. And so, it's just it's very challenging in a very different way.
No, that makes complete sense. It's actually very interesting to learn about, because I didn't even think about that, but it makes a lot of sense, because I do notice ticket prices. I remember when everything was like maximum $40 for any concert that I could go to when I was younger. And now it's nothing like that.
No. And I mean, you're getting into the realm also of kind of the scalpers and the fraud and all that kind of stuff. And I'll tell you, one of the things that I'm really proud of, an initiative that we've been working on, is to help with Google Ads and how scalpers are using Google Ads to sell tickets, what we call speculative ticket sales. So they're promoting tickets that they don't actually own yet. And so and it's very confusing how they present them, as if it's from the venue or the artist, to kind of fool fans into thinking that they're buying tickets from the actual resource, the primary source. And once they buy it, then the ticket broker, the reseller, will go out and then they'll get the tickets. And it's really inflating the price. It's like total fraud, right?
Yeah,
And
that's awful.
very scammy. But it's also like a really crappy experience for Google ad users. And so our take is that it's in Google's best interest to help remedy this to some degree, right? And we're not saying, hey, like, ticket scalpers can't advertise through your platform, but we're saying distinguish from the primary source and the secondary source with just maybe like a blue check mark or something that defines and makes it easy for consumers not to be confused about, all right, this is what the actual source is. And I think that that's going to help everybody. It's not saying you can't take out ads, scalpers, but it's also making sure that the actual owners of the tickets have an opportunity to get them in the hands directly of fans in a less confusing and more direct way.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of incredible initiatives to kind of go back to how it used to be. I recently saw an artist make go to different cities and have their tickets actually available at box offices instead of online, so that to avoid the, you know, the inevitable scamming that people do end up doing when they buy 12 tickets and then resell them.
I was one of those guys in line at the Nine Inch Nails.
Yes.
Was waiting like old school.
I really like that though. I mean, it does suck because there is a discrepancy between maybe people that are disabled or are unable to come in person for different things, of course.
Yeah.
But it's also it's really nice to get back to kind of that way of doing things, because it is so unfortunate that people can just, do that.
Well, there's I think it's fixthetix.org. I'm pretty sure is the URL, but there's a really good initiative going to try to fix the system that we support those guys, and it's really much needed, and we need it from like a federal level, and I know globally things are happening as well. So Australia is doing some really good stuff. So yeah.
I hope so, yeah, because I can understand why ticket prices would go up just because of the economy, everything's going up. But it does very much it really sucks because in-person concerts are such like a very important part of my life. Like, I've been going to concerts since I was able to go to concerts with my parents, and then by myself from then on. And it's unfortunate that money-wise, it can't be a priority for me to be able to see live events. And I hope that there are different things in the process that change in order for more people to be able to do it.
Yeah, the pendulum's really gotta swing the other way. I'm hopeful, but hope is not a strategy. And I know that we actually have to get some actual change happening. So
yeah, but of course, as you as the marketing level of that process are not necessarily the reason why these prices are probably not even any part of the reason why it's becoming so pricey.
Yeah, our role is to help sell more tickets, and when they're uber expensive to the point where people can't. Yeah, it's much more challenging for us to meet our goals and do our job. And so, we're big advocates for affordable tickets, because again, like, our passion, what gets us out of bed each day is like getting people, putting butts in seats, getting people to these events and experiencing things together.
Yeah, well, I think that's a beautiful process, and I hope that, you're still able to do that. Hopefully there's some change in how we're doing the process from the ground up and not just at a certain point. Well, so to move over a little bit, if this wasn't a worry, I guess, because this definitely contributes to probably part of this. Okay, so walking the line of creativity and profitability, how are you kind of able to honor both in campaigns normally?
Well, our creative process, particularly, on sort of brand strategy and kind of really hammering out how do we want this brand to be perceived by others, is still rooted in performance. So we're not just creating pretty things, it's pretty with a purpose. And it's really important for us to have performance-based branding, where the choices that we make about a brand and all of the content and touch points to support that brand identity really all have to be rooted in our goals, which more often than not is ticket sales. So, our process certainly starts with understanding the audiences and what are the needs around each of those kind of personas. And then what are the products that orient towards those personas? Let's say families with a family 4-pack, and kind of the challenge of, it's a mom trying to decide what to do with the family this weekend, like that kind of stuff. And really trying to formulate, all right, what are the archetypes that we're presenting this experience to, and how do we want them to perceive it? And so then, if we start there and we understand what the problems are, or the challenges or the needs are, then it's much easier for us to create visuals that correspond to that. And ultimately, with branding, our goal really is to drive more awareness and recognition and familiarity, and all of those breed trust. And you're not going to sell anything, particularly tickets, if you don't trust.
Yes.
And that is our process. And that's why it's so important for us to make sure that all of our brand touch points are very consistent. And so, that's the brand killer, is as soon as, something just doesn't look or feel or meet that expectation that we've set, then that erodes the trust, because that erodes the familiarity. So that's our process in terms of how we sort of balance creativity with ultimately performance or profit, with our brand strategy.
Do you have a favorite campaign that you've worked on that you think was like very unique or very special to you?
The one that I like was one of the first ones that I just lived, eat, and breathed, and ultimately one was X Games, and it was when the X Games, they were leaving LA. They put it out to bid, sort of this like Olympic style bidding across multiple cities. And I was working, my client was the Formula One racetrack in Austin. And they put in the bid, and I helped spearhead the marketing and for that campaign that, we ultimately, it got very, very contentious with particularly Detroit. And they wanted it so bad, and God bless them. But like right in the midst of ESPN's judges going to different cities, and I think the city of Detroit declared bankruptcy or something during that process. Yeah, it was like a whole net. Yeah, but I will also say that they were playing a little dirty and trying to sling some mud and all that stuff. It was like incredible experience, right? And so we ended up hosting essentially a mini X Games on right in front of the Capitol in Austin, and we had like the half pipe, and we had the bike, like everything, and DJs, and it was insane.
It's awesome.
And we ended up winning it, and then I got to actually do the marketing for X Games when it came there, which it was their highest attended X Games I think ever. And wow. We had just incredible music lineup from, was it Flaming Lips, Mac Miller, Kanye West headlined, which was very interesting.
That's crazy.
The
Flaming Lips is my favorite band, so that was like my
yeah, it's bananas. I think we had Pretty Lights as well. Which was so pretty massive. So just and then going up to the top of the Big Air, that like massive jump, and just looking down, and I was just like, this is my life. This is banana.
Well, that sounds so exciting. It's really great to be able to, one, as I mentioned before, how passionate you are about this, to be able to go to these types of things that you contributed to creating is probably must feel so fulfilling, because most marketers just get to, see their work be successful, and that's great, but there's not like something that they can actually kind of show for it, if that makes sense. And for other people to enjoy that is just that sounds like an amazing experience.
It is. There's no question. There's and I know you can tell, and that's why I'm so passionate about this, because I know that what we do has a direct impact on changing people's lives for the rest of their lives. It's something just super special. I don't take it lightly. It's really rad.
Oh, well, I think that is a perfectly wholesome note to end on, because we're actually out of time, but that's genuinely one of the coolest things that I think that, anyone could ever do. I don't know. That sounds incredible. So I'm really happy that, one, you're passionate about what you do. I can see it clearly. It's nice to be able to enjoy it too. Like you can like doing something so much, but to actually enjoy it, I think, is a separate kind of thing. So one, thank you so much for sharing your passion today and all of the knowledge that you have. I think this has been an incredible experience. So thank you so
My
much.
pleasure. Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. And looking forward to keeping in touch.
Thank you. Yes, please. And for everyone at home, don't forget to like and subscribe to hear more awesome stories like this and see people be as passionate about their job as Brian is. I hope so. Thank you so much again and have a lovely day, everyone.
You've been listening to Fully Managed, brought to you by Penji. Check out the show notes to learn more about today's guest. And to learn more about Penji, the human-first creative subscription service, head over to penji.co. And by the way, if you're still listening, it would mean the absolute world to us if you were to share this podcast with a friend and, of course, subscribe.